All right, guys, what is up? Welcome. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to take their brands to the next level. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and I am joined by Mr. Bobby Stealth. And today we're going to be talking about sales. Now, before we get into that, if you're viewing this live, go ahead and put your flames in the comments. Also, let me know what is the energy like. It's a phenomenal Tuesday morning. And Bobby, speaking of which, I think we're gonna get a lot of things here very soon from one particular person. I think you might know who it is. But definitely, man, how you doing? How's everything going?
Oh man, it's amazing, Junior. And I love talking about sales because I think it's one of the most dynamic parts of a business. Like every part of your business is dynamic. Don't get me wrong, but sales is new every day. It's always a new client, it's always a new customer. Sometimes it's a new objection. There's the objections that you see all the time, right? And then there's the objection where it's like, what? Like, how could you say that again? And then you're like, okay, I did hear you right. So I really love talking sales because again, it's what brings money in and it's extremely dynamic. So I'm excited about today's conversation.
Yeah, you know what I love about sales? What I love about sales the most is not necessarily the money part of it. What I love about sales the most is the fact that for you to be successful in sales, sales is it's like one of the greatest personal development things you can do. Like, there's no way you're gonna be phenomenal in sales if you are not performing in other areas of your life. It just doesn't happen that way. And I love it because it pushes you to be great when it comes to your physique. So if you're in phenomenal physical shape, you're gonna be better at sales. It just happens, and any sales leader will tell you that. Like, there's no high performing salesperson that I know who doesn't train. It just doesn't exist. And if you know someone, please put it in the comments, let me know, like, educate me. I'm always open to new perspectives and new opinions. I love the fact that sales also pushes you to expand your mind, to learn new stories, to learn new perspectives, to learn new ways of doing things. I love the fact that it involves state management, which we're going to get into in a minute. But guys, just go ahead and put it in the chat. What is your energy like? Because believe it or not, energy is the first step on the road to the sales. Listen, Bobby, if you're not super energetic, if your customers don't feel your energy, they don't feel your commitment, if they don't feel like you care, you're not going to close that deal. So
Hmm.
you have to have the right energy to be able to move those deals. So if you're listening to my voice right now and your energy is not at a 10, then we need to put some flames in the chat for you, and we need to get you there. Now, Bobby, let's dive right into it. We're not gonna go to the first break because you're already at like 8:13. So we're gonna go ahead and kick it off. So let's get started. What's the first question?
Let's dive right into state management. So we talked about the energy. Like, what's the energy like in the room? What type of energy do you have to close large deals? So let's talk about state management.
Hey, Bobby, can you hear me?
Yes, it looks like we're back, brother. It looks like we like pulled out and we came back in.
Okay.
All
Let's
right.
make sure, guys, put a number one in the comments if you can see us. Just put a number one. Let us know that you can see us. But I can see you just fine. I can hear you. It looks like you're moving. It looks like I'm moving on the screen. So I think it's good as far as I can tell.
Yes, I
Let's
agree.
continue. Let's move forward. But guys, just let us know if you run into like any technical difficulties. If you can't see us, you can't hear us. Just put it in the comments.
Good. So Bradley's saying he's got us. He can see us. He can hear us. So good.
Okay.
So the question was surrounded around state and energy. So when you're closing high ticket, which many of you all are, like you're not coming into business to do low ticket bargain basement prices, but you're coming into this to see how you can scale your company and your organization. And in order to do that, you've got to be able to close big deals. So what's something that you work on, Junior, anytime you're preparing to close a big deal or get into a state that allows you to tap into confidence and various other things? Do you have a routine? Is there anything that you do to get yourself into the right state of mind?
Yeah. It's so funny. I was thinking about this just yesterday. I think for me, state management, I view it almost like turning certain dials, if that makes sense. So imagine that you had certain dials. You know what I'm talking about. Like you turn certain dials and then you have to sort of turn them up to a certain point. Like but I want you to picture, let's say you have three of these. So I'm gonna use, the SMB, so spirit, mind, body, right? So let's say you have three of these dials that you have to turn up until a certain point for you to get into that state. The first thing is your physique. So what are you doing on a physical level? Are you training every day? Are you waking up and are you shaking the dust out? Are you knocking the dust out of yourself? Meaning, are you going to the gym? I've found that going to the gym in the morning and just really pushing, going hard is a phenomenal way to sort of get the tiredness out of your bones and to be able to fully express yourself in a physical way. So you have to turn that physical dial all the way up to a 10. Once you've done that, Bobby, how do you turn now the mental dial? So are you training every day? I was just having a conversation with Bobby about training. I told him that training to me is non-negotiable. Like you have to train every single day. I train every single day, whether it's for sales, branding, you name it. I train every single day. So are you training every day? A lot of our viewers, they want to close, but the question is, are you training every single day? Because it compounds after some time. Okay, so it's like when you just get started, just like if anything, when you just get started, it's very tough. But as you keep going, as you keep like staying on that path, it starts to compound, Bobby, and then you start to get into a space where you're closing deals and it's like effortlessly, like you're not even trying. So the way you get into the correct mental state is by consuming the right information. So information is also part of your diet. Your diet is not like only what you eat, it's also what you consume, what you read, what you watch, what you listen to. So for me, I train, and part of that train, excuse me, it gives me the right information, but it also gives me the right inspiration and the right motivation to go out and to do big things. And then of course, you have to turn that spiritual dial, whatever your belief is, whatever your religion is, you have to be able to tap into that, right? And be able to turn that to a 10 as well by having your own, spiritual practice, whatever it is that you choose to do. So when you step out of the house, when you step into the office, your physique is at a 10, your mindset is at a 10, and your spirit, so your energy. So we talk about energy, but what is energy? So it's your spirit. It's like your ethos. Like people can feel your vibe. We say vibe in the Caribbean. So what is your vibe like? Do you have a bad vibe or do you have a great vibe? So what is your spirit like? And to me, if you have all three of those things aligned, Bobby, then it's normally going to be a great day.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Junior, in the alignment piece there, because I found that to be true in my life as well, where having one of them in alignment but the other two off, it still doesn't feel right. It's almost like you've meditated and prayed and you've done the spiritual work, you've done the mental work for your meditation, but you don't work out, or you don't drink water, or you don't stretch. It's like something's off. And you'll find that is true in the sale. So you'll be going through the sales process and this will feel right. The greeting was good, the fact finding was good, everything is seeming to go nice and smooth, and then boom, you'll get to the trial close and something will be off. So I say that to say, don't skip steps. Don't skip steps in this process, because one of the things that I've learned to do is do them in a consistent order every time. So my order looks something like waking up and doing my morning routine. That's getting the crust out of my eyes, brushing my teeth, washing my face, and kind of getting myself up. From there, I go straight into meditation. That's clarity. I get clear. I release all the stuff and I embrace. I release and I embrace. Release all the junk from yesterday, embrace everything of the new day. And then I go straight into prayer. And once I've cleared myself, gotten myself into a state of gratitude, and I go into prayer, I go straight from there into lacing up. I'm putting on my shoes and I'm out the door with my half gallon of water. And that's the routine. One, two, three. I don't have to think about it. So when you do it in that way and you do it consistently, soon as I get to the gym, I'm pushing. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is so that you can think of what your routine could look like. It's not going to look like mine, it doesn't have to. But when I get back home, it's straight to the cold shower. And the reason I share these things with you is because I'm putting a certain level of I don't want to do this in front of my day before I get to the thing that I want to do. For example, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't always want to meditate. Like, I don't always want to pray. I don't always want to go to the cold shower, but I do these things that I don't want to do so that when it's time for me to do the next thing that I don't want to do, I've already got a nice mountain of things that I've got accomplished to roll me over. So I would say that's how I look at the mind, body, spirit, the alignment piece, and just little things that we can do to keep our energy up. So my next question for you, Junior, in the sales space is they say they say bad salesmen have skinny kids. What would you say about salesmen that don't train? Well, salesmen that don't train.
Well, if you don't train, then you'll be bad. You'll be you'll be one of those bad salesmen that have skinny kids. That's pretty simple. He'll be one of those bad salesmen that have skinny kids. It's I mean, listen, we're all, like nothing is still, ever. Nothing is still. And what that means is like your progress is not still. So you can make it up until a certain point. Like even if you train, let's say you train for 100 days straight, and then you become like this guru of sales, like this master of sales and stuff like that. You can decline from there. Just so you know, like you can decline from there. So you have to keep training every single day. Like you either moving up or you're moving down. You're either growing or you're shrinking. So the question is like, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that continues to grow, or do you want to be the person that grows up until a point and then starts to shrink? Like I think it's pretty clear. So to answer your question, Bobby, you quickly become one of those salespeople that have skinny kids.
And nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants skinny kids, especially if they're sales professionals. We want our kids to be healthy, happy, and given all the resources they need to be successful. So, one of the resources that I found that make sales professionals stand out is the ability to ask questions that prospects might not want to answer. Questions that the prospect might not want to answer. One of those questions might sound like, "How liquid are you today?" That to many people, that's a tough question to ask. But I have found it's the tough questions that we ask that get us the real answers that we need. And the real answers that we need is what gives us something to work with. So I remember talking with a prospect once, and I disqualified the prospect. And I disqualified them simply because they weren't liquid enough. And at the end of it, most people would think that the prospect would feel embarrassed, upset, angry because they can't pay and all this stuff, but it wasn't like that. They thanked me. They said, "I appreciate you for disqualifying me and letting me know where I need to start at this stage of my business. Thank you." And I share that with us because as you sell more and as you scale your business, there's going to be some times where you're going to have to apply pressure that feels uncomfortable even to you. It's uncomfortable to the prospect, but you're going to feel a little uncomfortable doing it. But I say this, if you have empathy instead of sympathy, you can get the job done. If you have sympathy instead of empathy, oh man, you're in trouble. You're going to be in there like curled up with them, like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. You can't afford this. Oh, my goodness. Where is that next check going to come from?" And you guys are all going to be in there stressing together. But when you have empathy and you do it right, it's able to take a step back from the situation, ask the tough questions, get the real answers, overcome the objection, excuse me, and help the prospect make the best decision. And that's one of the things that I think is very important. So, Junior, from your perspective, what's one of the most interesting parts of the sales process to you?
I mean, the whole thing is interesting, but if I had to pinpoint one particular place, I would go to closing,
Mm,
and I would go to the close, like the actual close. And the reason I say that is because it's always interesting to watch. Like you could watch people transform. So inside of closing like a leader, which is our sales program, okay, inside closing like a leader, we talk about something called the transformation within the transaction. So what does that mean? That means that literally when you decide to make a decision, so I want you guys to just imagine this. So put it in the chat. How many of you want a bigger life? How many of you are looking to get into business? How many of you would like to create something phenomenal, a phenomenal business, a phenomenal life? How many of you are looking to become a different person, a better person, a renewed person, an invigorated person, somebody who is living in their purpose, who's able to take care of their family, who's able to do phenomenal things, who's able to just be absolutely amazing when it comes to business and when it comes to life in general? Most people would say yes. Now, check this out. The reason why the prospect is on the call is because they're moving towards that life. So if you buy a sales course, you don't really care about a sales course. The only reason you bought the sales course was because you knew that if you need to get to the life that you want to get to, you're going to need to learn how to sell. Okay, so if you bought a branding course, you knew that if I'm going to build a business, if I'm going to build something phenomenal, I need to know branding. If you bought a speaking course, you know that if you want to become that person that's able to step on stage, that's able to command the crowd, that's able to do absolutely phenomenal things in front of an audience, then you needed to know how to speak. And so you bought the course. You're not actually buying the course. What you're buying is the result of the course. So we call that dream state in marketing. You're buying the dream state. In other words, you're buying or you're paying for access to a different life. Now, when you decide to part ways with your money and when you decide to make an investment, oftentimes you experience fear. So there's always that little point. Like when you're in a sales scenario and somebody's about to make a payment, there's always this little bit of fear that you can sense as a salesperson. And for me, the most interesting thing is watching that person take a courageous step towards the life that they know they deserve.
Hmm.
Really, really. So that's it for me, Bobby. Like actually watching them change. Like I've seen people cry, I've seen people freak out, I've seen all kind of stuff. But then what's most interesting to me is that after the sale, after they've been able to make the decision, after they muster up the courage, they change. Like you can literally see the change. Like they start to sit up differently, their voice changes, the look in their eye changes, and instantly, right in that moment where the payment clears, they literally become a different person.
Hmm.
So physically they look the same, but mentally they're completely different. Why? Because they've taken the first step towards achieving that dream life. They've taken that step towards becoming the person that they know that they can be.
Right.
So I say it all the time. You have to be so you can become. You cannot be who you want to be without doing what the person that you want to be will do. When you make that investment, you're acquiring the mindset, the skill set, but you're also acquiring the self identity of the person that you want to be. And so what happens? You feel differently about yourself. If you've ever invested $10,000 in your personal development and growth, you now feel comfortable asking somebody for 10K because you know what it takes because you've invested 10K yourself. And that internal growth, you can see that happen in real time in the close. And for me, that's what I find most interesting is seeing a mental change literally as it happens.
Wow. Man, Junior, this is making me think about my favorite part or one of the aspects of the close that I enjoy the most. And I think the part that I find is the most interesting is the trial close. So I think the trial close to me is so interesting because that's where I handle a lot of the objections. And objections to me can be very interesting because it's almost like the prospect never wants to tell you what's really wrong, but they want you to find out. Like they want you to know, but they don't want to tell you. And you kind of got to go through the process of figuring this out. And this is why you have to love who you do it for. Because if you don't love the ideal client enough to spend time with them, to press them, like press them and pressure them gently. I'm not saying break anyone, but if you have permission to use positive pressure, then you should, because that's what they need in order to get over the hump. Like, no parent has parented their child successfully without applying pressure to the child, because there's times where the child will be at stages in their life and in their development where they need a push. And I think the trial close is one of the interesting spaces to be, because I think that's where you make the close, or at least that's the first. It's called the trial close for a reason. That's the first time the prospect takes ownership of the product, or at least it's the first time you offer it to them. It's the first time that they say to themselves, man, this could be mine and it could help me. And in that moment, all of the reasons why they shouldn't buy it flare up at one time. And it's your responsibility to a degree to handle those things and to get them in a position to where they're ready to move forward with possessing that thing, being the product or solution that they know is going to transform their lives. So that for me is one of the most exciting parts of the close, because you do that part right, then it makes the cash collection piece and the transformation within the transaction aspect a lot more easier. And it gives you a little more runway too, because you're not trying to handle objections at the end of a call. So it's a very interesting experience when you present product or service to the client. So I'm looking forward to seeing how when we come back.
In brand clarity, exactly what you're going to get is what it sounds like. Clarity for your brand. What is your color? What is your logo? What is your unique value proposition? Who are you speaking to? Why? How should you speak to them? How should I position myself? That's what you're going to learn in brand clarity. You need other people to have the same clarity on your brand that you do. But this is the gap. If you don't have clarity on your brand, then no one else is going to have clarity on your brand either. It's like messaging. Your message sounds clear to you, but is your end user receiving the value that you're trying to provide? I guarantee you that after you go through brand clarity, they will, and so will you. And that's how you'll scale your brand. The difference between sales and closing, I get this all of the time, guys. Closing is elegant. Closing is luxurious. Closing is the most profitable. Sales, high pressure tactics. No one associates car sales, right, the sleazy sales tactics, with closing, because closing is elegant. Closing is excellent. You have to be a professional in order to close deals. Listen, when you do this the right way, when you learn what we're going to teach you in here, your clients will be trying to close you, and they won't let you close them for low numbers. So you'll be able to heighten, increase your profitability, increase your visibility, increase your reach, and increase your impact in the marketplace, and be confident and comfortable charging higher prices than you ever thought possible to the right people who can actually pay for them, and then say thank you for closing them.
All right, guys. So we are back. Bobby, that commercial, that last commercial, I really love that last commercial that Shaan did.
Yeah.
Shaan said something very interesting at the end. He said, the people will thank you for closing them. I've actually experienced this. And most people, they would not like, if you're not in it, then you would say, well, that doesn't make any sense. But it's true. Like the right people, they will thank you for closing them, because check this out. People normally don't buy for one of five reasons. So number one, they don't trust you. Okay. Number two, they don't trust your company. Number three, they don't trust the product. Number four, they don't trust the deal. But what's interesting, Bobby, let's assume that they have trust in you, in your company, in the product, in the deal. There's normally one more thing, right? One more factor of trust that they need to get over. You know what that is?
Themselves.
That's right. It's trusting themselves. A lot of people have fear of success. A lot of people are unable to trust themselves. So when you close somebody, you're actually helping them to gain the confidence that they need to make a decision that they want to make. Not a decision that you want to make for them. It's a decision that they've already made, but they don't necessarily have the confidence or the courage to make it for themselves. So you allow them. Jim Rohn used to say something. Until you could see your ability, until you could see your potential, borrow people's belief in you. Until you could believe in yourself, borrow people's belief in you, because people around you will believe in you before you believe in yourself. A lot of people can see your potential. Some may say it, some may not say it, but they could all see who you can be, even sometimes before you can see it, Bobby. And sometimes you just have to, man, you just have to borrow those people's belief in yourself, and then you have to do it. And that's all closing is allowing people to borrow your belief in them to allow them to make a decision that they want to make for themselves.
You know, I'm thinking back to any time I was ever closed on a product. Shaan says, "How you buy is how you sell." You know, and I found that a lot of people just don't know how to buy. They don't shop. They don't control their own wallet, so to speak. And the reason I bring this up with closing is that it's great to get sales training so that you can become a better buyer, believe it or not. Someone that purchases better. So I'll tell you guys a story. I was I was a young Marine. I was about 19 years old. No driver's license at this time, and I was in the military and I had just gotten what's called a safety brief. The safety brief is designed to keep you out of trouble when you're out in the town because they know you're in a new state with people you don't know, with more money than you've probably ever had in your life, and you've been stressed out for the past 6 months, and you're about to go spend all your money and probably do something crazy. So they give us safety briefs every weekend to keep the Marines safe. I was like 19 years old. So one of the safety briefs said, "Hey, Marines, do not drive outside of the gate and buy a car. Don't do it. These cars are lemons. They don't work well. They break down often. And because you are a service member, they will give you this high priced interest rate over an extended period of time. And because you have no credit, they're going to drag it out. And they can do this because they know you're military and they know Uncle Sam is coming on the 1st and the 15th. So what do you think Lance Corporal Schmuckatelli did? That's what we call young and dumb Marines when we first come into the Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Schmuckatelli. So I went out there and I said, "Whoo, whoo." It was the dark. It was midnight, like very, very dark. One, why would a car dealership be open at midnight? Okay, keep on going. It's midnight. And the car is open. And the car that I'm looking at has blacked out rims, blacked out tint on the car, and it's black on black. It's a BMW. That's the brand, BMW. It's supposed to be this beautiful luxury car. So I get there and I'm going through and I'm looking at it in the dark and I'm like, wow, this is nice leather. Wow, these are some real nice, rims. And I end up buying the car. Now, I'm not a sales professional. I don't know anything about sales. I do not know that I've been had. Okay. So I drive the car back. Oh, by the way, I don't have driver's license, right? So I couldn't even drive the car back legally myself. I had to call a friend. I bought a car that I couldn't drive, that I didn't need because someone sold it to me because I didn't know how to buy. Because I was not a sales professional of any caliber. So I drive the car home. When I drive the car home, it's smoking. It doesn't even make it back to the base, and base is 10 minutes away. I've
Oh
spent
man, that's crazy.
$15,000 on this car. And the car, I've got payments of like 750 bucks for like the next 3 years on a car that started smoking before I got it back to the lot, before I got it 10 minutes back to base. So, long story short, the sun comes up. The rims aren't even black rims, it's spray paint, guys. Real, like, shake it up, spray painted the rims. So they're not even really black rims. It's just spray paint. The tent is peeling off the wall, like off the windows. So the tent isn't even really that good. All of that is said to say this: sales is a transference of feeling, but people buy how they sell. And one of the best things you can do to become a better purchaser and a better sales professional is to get sales training. Ever since then, I've bought all of my cars cash, and I've done the research necessary to be an educated buyer. And I enjoy the sales experience, pressure and all, far better than I enjoyed that experience of being sold.
That's really interesting. I've never heard anybody say it like that.
Mhm.
That's very interesting. By the way, guys, just want to put this out there, just in case you wanted to get closing like a leader. You know what, Bobby? Today, just for today, for our Breakfast with the Brand audience, we're gonna do a sale. We're gonna give you guys preferred rates on closing like a leader. You can get up to 30% off closing like a leader just for today. All you have to do is just send Bobby Stealth or myself a message, or just send an email to support in fact, www.seanrice.com or support at seanrice.com. Let us know that you were listening to this show, and then you will qualify automatically for 30% off closing like a leader today. Okay? Just wanted to put that out there. Now, Bobby, I've never heard anybody say it quite like that. Like, in order to become a better buyer, you should become a better seller. But it's true. It's very true, because once you understand, you know what, too? Once you understand the sales process, you're able to spot like when people are not exactly authentic with you. You're able to spot that. Now, in what we do, we always tell people, number one, like the first part of sales, of anything we do. I remember Shaan did a course. I believe it might have actually been closing like a leader. In fact, it was closing like a leader, where before we even got into the course material, we said that you have to use this information for good. We made everybody on that call promise that they would only use this information for good. So the guy who sold you that car, he used his ability for the wrong thing, just so you know. That wasn't ethical. Okay? So you don't take advantage of people. You help people, you don't take advantage of people. So you never use this knowledge for the wrong thing. That's number one. But I definitely agree. In the same way that if you want to sell high ticket, the fastest way to sell high ticket is to buy high ticket. If you pay, let's just say $10,000 for something, you have the context around how to recreate something that is worth 10K. So if you're a coach and you spend, let's say, 10K on your program, like from another coach, then you can now know what a 10K program looks like, and then you could recreate your own, and then you could sell something for 10K. So now spending that money gives you the context around how to create it for yourself, so you can actually build more value into your business and take your business to a next level. In fact, that's what most people do. Most people that I know, that's what they do. In fact, every coach has a coach. So even sales trainers have sales trainers. They will train with these people, and then they will use the knowledge that they gain to increase the value of their business by, of course, building new programs, building better programs, building, more luxurious programs, and of course, getting better clients.
Wow. Yeah. And I think back to ethics, just being an ethical sales professional. I think that a lot of times a profession can get a bad rap, right?
Yep.
Like rapping, for instance, no pun intended, right? Rap has a bad rap. Like everybody that thinks that you're a rapper, like you've got to be either selling something illegal, doing something illegal, or just got out of prison for doing something illegal. So it's like rap's just got a bad rap, and the sales profession is kind of in a similar boat like that. Unfortunately, it's like, oh, if you're selling things high tickets, you got to be bending the truth, you got to be stretching the truth, or you got to be being a bit sleazy, a bit pressury. And it's unfortunate that that's the case, but I'll say it this way: we have to do a bit better as sales professionals about defending our profession, and that's what we're doing right now. Is we're talking about it from the side of business and sales that is ethical, authentic, and highly moral. And I think the more of these conversations that are had by honest people over a art and craft that really is an incredible gift, which is persuasion, like the art of persuasion and the gift of helping and assisting people in making good decisions, that's not something to take lightly or something to be shunned. It's really something to be acknowledged, praised, and appreciated. So as you think about sales, I just want to know what's your what's your challenge? What's your challenge before we go to this break? What are you struggling with the most? Is it calling strangers, just getting on the phone with random people that you don't know? Is that nerve wracking for you? Is it going into the DMs, like getting ghosted and the rejection piece? Like, man, I just don't really handle this rejection stuff well. Or is it simply getting stumbled up? You caught up in your words, you're going through the process and you just don't have a script. Like, talk to us about where you are. Like, what is it that might not be clicking for you in your sales process so we can give you some tools to help bridge that gap? Because it's probably just that. It's just a gap that, if properly bridged, will produce so much value for you and your prospects.
Oh man, that was a funny little reaction.
Yeah, it was.
Oh man. All right, guys, we're gonna go to a quick break. Just so you know, we'll be back in like 60 seconds. See you soon. This is Breakfast with the Brand.
The difference between sales and closing, I get this all of the time, guys. Closing is elegant. Closing is luxurious. Closing is the most profitable. Sales, high pressure tactics. No one associates car sales, right, the sleazy sales tactics, with closing, because closing is elegant. Closing is excellent. You have to be a professional in order to close deals. Listen, when you do this the right way, when you learn what we're going to teach you in here, your clients will be trying to close you, and they won't let you close them for low numbers. So you'll be able to heighten, increase your profitability, increase your visibility, increase your reach, and increase your impact in the marketplace, and be confident and comfortable charging higher prices than you ever thought possible to the right people who can actually pay for them, and then say thank you for closing them. Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the 3 I's: the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence.
All right, guys, so we are back. This last ad spoke about confidence. Where does confidence come from if you've never done sales? Right? So that's pretty interesting. Let's talk about that, Bobby, for a minute. Like, where does confidence come from, you as a sales professional? So let me ask you first, like, where does your confidence come from when you're presenting something?
I would say my confidence comes from knowing it works. But before I had that proof of concept and I knew it could solve the problem, my confidence came from the script, believe it or not. Like, I knew the person that produced the script had produced millions of dollars. So if they produced millions of dollars with the script, then I was able to put my faith in the script. And by putting my faith in the script, I had confidence that if I said these things with all my might, with all my heart, with all my trust, that I would get the sale, I would get the close. And that's where I placed my confidence. But after I had sales and I had results and I tested my product out in the marketplace, my confidence then came from the ability of me to deliver the service in an effective manner that got results for the client.
100%. And I'm gonna take it from a different perspective, because let's just say, like, for the people who are literally just getting started off, meaning that they don't have any results, they're selling the dream. So they don't have any results, they don't have any clients, they're literally just starting off, they don't have any experience. Where do you get that confidence? For me, you get that confidence from your vision. from the belief and the trust and the conviction that you have for your vision. So, okay, so it's like I'm starting something new. I know where I want to go, and I know I can trust myself to get my people to where they want to go. And if you believe in yourself enough, if you trust yourself enough, and if you have the skills, the abilities to back up that trust, then you could build confidence by gaining the confidence in yourself that you could deliver the results that you're promising to people. Because that's a big thing. I've spoken to so many people and they tell me, well, I have like, what do they call it, Bobby? I think it's called imposter syndrome. So it's like they don't feel like they have the right to sell what they're selling when they're just getting started off. And believe it or not, that is actually a very common objection. So guys, if you're writing, write this down. All objections are initiated from the seller, not the buyer. So meaning that Bobby and I could be talking to the same prospect, and the prospect gives the two of us different objections based on how we present and who we are. So if you're just getting started off, an objection that people normally get is like, well, you don't have any clients as yet. How do I know that you're going to do what you say you're going to do? How can I trust you? How can I know, like, when I invest in your program, I'm going to get what I paid for? How do I know that you're going to follow through all the way? And the way you overcome that objection is you say, hey, Mr. Prospect, listen, this is what I really want to do. This is my dream. This is my goal. This is my vision. Now, let me ask you something. Would you prefer to go with somebody who's literally just starting off, who has one client, and who has all the ability, the attention, the ability to dedicate all of their attention, their time, and their care towards one person? Or do you want to go with a large company where you're literally just another number? They're seeing hundreds of clients. You're just another person on the books. They service you, but they don't really care about you like I will. So because if you're just starting off, you're going to do everything you can to take care of that person because, of course, you want that person to come back. So there's always a way to overcome that objection.
Hmm.
But the key is to stop producing the objection in yourself because it's originating from you. So, and this is a very, very important thing. Check this out, Bobby. This is a very important thing. The biggest sale or the most important sale will be the sale to yourself. So, to the degree that you are sold, you will sell. To the degree that you are sold on you, you will sell. That's it. So, if you have the objection in your mind, if you haven't overcome the objection in your own mind, how are you going to overcome it in the mind of the prospect? It doesn't work that way.
Hmm.
You have to overcome that for yourself. You have to remove your own obstacles. You have to, you know, metaphorically part that sea, right? Part the Red Sea and give your space, give yourself room to pass so that you could create and pave the way for other people to pass as well.
Man, Junior, something you said there was so powerful. You said you have to overcome the objection in your own mind before you can overcome the objection in the mind of the prospect. And that stood out to me so much because I think that's training. That's training. Is like listening to the objections that you've heard, going back to your calls and just sifting through the objections. That's almost like equivalent to Michael Jordan watching the tape. He's studying the tape. Mike Tyson studying the fight. He's studying the tape, and you're like going back to your sales calls. And then as you see the objection, you've got to overcome the objection in your own mind. So now you've got to say, this person told me it was too expensive. Is
Mhm.
it too expensive? And then now you have to ask yourself, is it too expensive? And now you're handling the objection in your own self. You're like, well, am I worth what I think I'm worth? Am I not worth what I think I'm worth? And as you overcome this objection within yourself and you sell yourself on your own value, you then also come up with, in my experience, the actual objection handling technique. So one of the most common objections that I get is, how much is this going to cost me? Now, what's interesting about this objection is because one of the most logical ways to handle this objection rarely works. So here's the most logical way that I can think of to handle this objection. It would simply be, what's your budget? What budget did you come to spend today? Like, what's your budget? Most people will say it depends on how much the price is. Like, guys, for a finance person like me, I want to shake my computer when I hear that, because that's the exact opposite definition of a budget. If you have a budget, you have a fixed amount of money that you plan to spend. That's the definition of a budget. If someone says to you, what is your budget to spend on this? They say it depends on the price. That means they don't have a budget. That means they are looking for the lowest possible price that they can pay. Now, what's interesting about this objection is it's not a matter of price or cost, but value. And that's why I think that's why I think you have to win yourself over. Because now I can say to myself as I'm handling this objection in my head, like, okay, the price is good, it's worth it. The cost, it's not too high, but it's present. However, the value, now that's a match. They're not going to get this value anywhere else. And once I've sold myself on that, if I'm faced with the objection where the prospect says it's based on, it depends, my budget depends on how much the price is, I can then say, well, the price depends on how much value you want. Now, it puts the ball back in their court. So I can say, do you want something extremely valuable? Or are you looking for something that is less valuable? We don't have poor value here, so I'm sorry we can't help you. But we do have a scale of very valuable things. Where would you like to start? And that's kind of a way to move you better into that direction. So as we wrap up, I just wanted to share this piece with you guys where it's like, handle those objections in your mind and win yourself over so you can win over others.
That's phenomenal, Bobby. That's phenomenal. You know what? I think sometime maybe towards the end of this month, for all of the people that are inside the Branded Like a Leader Academy, we're gonna be doing a sales training inside the academy. I'm just letting you know. So if you're on the call, I see Dr. Michelle, I see a few other people, Bradley, Tia. We're gonna have to do a sales training, like an actual, like a real objection handling sales training style thing. We're gonna do that on the inside of the Branded Like a Leader community. So if you're not in the community, you know what you need to do. This is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, Bobby, but I realized that it's time to do it because a lot of people they don't understand how to handle the objections. I say it all the time, and I've said it on this, on Breakfast with the Brand. Like, you handle objections by just telling the truth. So what is the cost? What is the actual cost, Bobby? The cost is not what you pay. Okay? It's like, do you remember Jim Rohn said something? He said that I think he was talking to a guy about television, right? And then he said, "Oh, what does a TV cost?" The guy said $1,000. Jim Rohn said that's the price. The price is 1,000, but it costs you about $1,000 per month to watch it. So it costs 1,000 to buy. Okay, the price is 1,000, but the cost is $12,000 per year. So the cost is not the price. So when somebody asks you about the cost, the real cost, you want to know the real cost, Bobby? The real cost is the cost of inaction.
Yeah.
So the real cost is never building the business. The real cost is never changing your legacy. The real cost is never changing your family dynamics. The real cost is never living your dream. The real cost is getting to like 75, 80 and realizing that you could have done so much more. And if that cost doesn't outweigh the price, then don't buy. Don't buy. But if the cost of you being 70, 80 years old and not knowing, like, or just looking back on life and saying, I could have done so much more. Okay, the money's gone. The money that you were trying to save is gone. But also was your potential. Your potential is gone. Your dreams are gone. Your family legacy is gone. Your opportunity, and most importantly, the opportunity is gone. If that cost does not outweigh the price, then don't buy. But if that cost far exceeds the price, then definitely buy. And that's how you reframe that. Like, you start to tell the truth. So if you're inside the community, we're gonna do a training on this. Okay, we're gonna do a training. We're gonna teach you how to handle objections, and we might even do like an objection handling manual, just giving you some of like the basics. So stuff like price, how to talk to the wife, things like that. Let me think about it. Common objections. We're gonna give you the keys to know how to handle that. But before we even get to that, you need to have closing like a leader. It doesn't make sense to handle objections if you don't know how to close. You're never going to get to the objections anyways. So if you're looking at this and you don't know how to close, get inside closing like a leader. Send me a text, send me a message, send Bobby a message, send us an email at support@shaanrais.com. If you're a past student of the community and you want to come back in, like I see a couple past students here, just send us a message. But we will be covering this month, okay, towards the end of the month and every other month moving forward for the rest of the year. So if you want to get good at sales, if you want to get good at branding, marketing, speaking, and just business in general, definitely join us. So, Bobby, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to say?
No, one day, every day without revenue is a bad day for your business. That's what I'll say. So try to close a deal every day. Every day.
That's right. One deal a day keeps brokenness away.
It does. Yes,
All
it
right.
does.
All right, guys, have a phenomenal day. Bobby and I will be back tomorrow, 8 a.m., same time. I had a really good time today, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Speak soon, and let's grow.
Scrub.